On this episode of Trash Talk, we talk with the man who quit his job at Google to play Street Fighter 6 full time. I'm talking about, of course, Nephew, who just recently got second place at CPT Singapore amongst one of the most stacked brackets of all time to qualify into his second offline Capcom Cup for Street Fighter 6. Please enjoy. So when did you get back from Singapore?
I got back like Monday, like 11 p.m. So then it's been like 2 days, I guess.
Okay. Did you go there early at all to see the region? You've never been to Singapore before, have you?
I had been like for a day or two. Like I went on like a family vacation like in Asia, and we just went there for like a day.
Okay.
Like, that was back in like 2019.
Okay. But no Street Fighter at that time.
No, I didn't play Street
Fighter. You didn't bring the laptop to play Street Fighter 5 ranked online?
No.
I guess it's different.
Yeah.
It's different.
Ranked also in Singapore, I thought it would be good, but it's like terrible there. It's like in NA, but worse maybe.
Really? I was going to ask you because you've already had a couple of trips to Japan, I think, and I've watched your streams and YouTube videos about them. And that's one thing that I'm really interested in. I always have been. Like, what's the online ranked experience like when going over there?
Yeah.
So you're saying for this trip you played Street Fighter 6 ranked online, and the level wasn't good, or the lag, or like what was it?
I mean, it's not like it was. Well, my internet wasn't good, so I was laggy personally. But
okay.
But like they don't match with Japan. Like it's too far, I guess. So like the only people you match with, I think, are like people in Singapore and some Australian players, and then like people from China that VPN in there.
You're making me pull up a map now. You're matching with Australia from Singapore, but not Japan?
I think so. I'm not sure though.
Interesting. Yeah, let me check my NA geography here. I guess Japan's kind of north. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Okay. Interesting. So yeah, I was always wondering how that would be. It's such a shame though. I feel like the regional matchmaking servers, like that's why, beyond just the player base in Japan, matchmaking in NA is so whack, because like I'll never play you in ranked ever, and we have a perfect connection, and we're not even that far relative to other people I would connect with, but it's just divvied up into like an invisible regional matchmaking server. So even though all of NA could probably play each other with perfect connections, we only play the same like 20 people in your MR range, which gets worse as you go higher. So you end up just not playing a wide variety of opponents.
I think it's mostly just because there's not enough players. Because I'll play, like I've run into Punk before in ranked, like so I don't think it's a distance thing anymore. I think maybe it's just like the time we play probably.
They did improve it. There was one patch where they did improve it, so I don't know how it works anymore, because I have like a wider setting now, and I definitely got more new opponents. But I for sure don't get West Coast people. Like,
do you have it worldwide, or like they
maybe I don't have it on the widest setting. I have it close to the widest setting, I believe. I'll have to double check.
Okay.
I still feel like my
mine is just worldwide and 3 to 5.
I think that's what I do too. I got to double check it, but I still feel like I don't match with hardly anybody anymore on either coast. But when you're in Japan,
Japan is
there's just so many players. Yeah.
Like when I played ranked in Japan, like everyone you play is like the exact same MR as you, pretty much. Like even when you're like 21 or 2200, it's not like when you're 2200 you're playing like 2000s or 2100s. You're actually playing 2200s. So like as you climb, it's like exactly the same skill level constantly, because there's so many players.
Yeah, I that's theoretically what the system's supposed to be like, but that never happens in NA rank. Not even like, even at like 1950, like 2000 base MR, it's very rare for you to match somebody at your same ranked level, because you might have 1 or 2 people on at a time who actually match that level. That's interesting. That's kind of my goal. I'm we're going to Japan. I might just be
you definitely should
stay in the hotel.
I feel like that'd be cool.
Yeah, I got to try it out. But you just got back from Singapore, and more so than that, you got back from qualifying to Capcom Cup, though.
Yeah.
Out of what might be the most stacked tournament of the year. What do you think? Is EVO more stacked, or this tournament? Because I feel like this tournament at the top level, it's giving EVO a run for its money.
I would say EVO is slightly more stacked, because you still got like Mena, Punk, the Birds, and they didn't go to this one. But it's close, right? Because just like the number of players, I feel like it's pretty much the same. And then I guess the Japan one is kind of the same as Singapore too, because I feel like the same players are going to each one.
Yeah, I was really surprised to see at the CPT Singapore how many Japanese players came out. I mean, once I thought about it, it made sense. It's nearby. It doesn't cost as much to travel as North America. But we've had such a drought of like Japanese competition in the CPT scene since COVID sort of died down and Street Fighter 6 started, that seeing that list of names like on Wikipedia, it's like 4 full columns of like 10 rows of names of Japanese players, and you recognize all of them. So that was really cool to see. And then you go through this bracket. When you signed up for this, did you like, what was your aspirations going into this? Because like you were the lone American going to this tournament. I know Noah and a few others signed up, but they ended up dropping out. Like how did you feel going into this? Was this just like, I'm going to do my best and see what happens, or were you like, yeah, I'm for sure going to be one of the contenders for this Capcom Cup spot? Because the list of entrants is just so stacked. I wonder how you felt looking at it.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so many good players. I feel like you can't ever be like, well, today I'm gonna win. But I honestly felt like really good. Like when I was at the tournament, like I didn't feel jet lagged at all. I felt like I was playing good. Like I warmed up and practiced and everything. So like I felt like if I played the way that I normally do, it should be good. So yeah, it was good.
The event was all on PC, right? I'm kind of curious how it was ran, because like from home, it was one of the best looking CPT events I had ever seen, like production wise. They had a lot of flair with the production, like adding like fan vote-ins for who they want to win, player cards with stats and information about the players. Commentary was good. The flow of it all was really good. I was actually really impressed watching it. But I was like, oh, like the CPT production for their own event was really high compared to even last year. And so, and then I saw the PC setups everywhere. I'm like, oh, like, this is like a real tournament. So what was it like there? Was it like well run? Was it a good experience playing?
Yeah, I mean, I might be a bit biased because I did good, but the tournament was amazing. We ran like everything was
but
perfect.
If you drowned in pools,
like,
you know,
yeah, who knows? Because actually, like the first day, I saw some of like the PC setups freezing a bit. Like they would drop frames in pools, and I think that like supposedly happened to Ending Walker too against John Takeuchi or something. Right. But for me, when I was playing on stream, like it was perfect. All the PC setups, like they ran perfectly. It's such a different change of pace than like all the tournaments I've been to. I feel like besides UFA, that was on PC too. But every PS5 tournament, like every time I play, like it just feels like a different amount of input delay. So I feel like it just feels uncomfortable and you just have to adjust to it.
Yeah, I feel like you're fighting the setup a lot of the time in PS5 tournaments, because I think the PS5 is just a terrible tournament console. If it runs optimally, sure, I think the input delay is fairly close to like a regular, not, you know, a PC setup without cranking up the hertz to 10 billion, right? It's like not that much of a difference. I think it's like 1 or 2 frames, which is manageable. But I think the issue is performance on PS5 is so unstable because they overheat and they're running for hours, and then they have frame rate skips, and it's just always just like a gamble how your experience is going to be. So it's cool to see that at least some of these major tournaments are making the pivot to PC, because it seems like every time we talk about it in NA, it becomes such a big stink. Like it's such a negative attitude in NA about trying to utilize PC for tournaments, but then you keep doing these international events and they just do it. And it seems to work pretty good. So that's interesting you brought up UFA. So UFA, you went to that one. Yeah, also all PC, no issue?
Yeah, that was also all PC. I guess the only issue was the venue was mad hot. I don't know if that was because there were so many PCs running, but
could be.
Yeah, the PCs, like they ran perfectly at UFA. I just got smoked in pools to a non-player.
But the setup wasn't the issue. That was
no, the setup wasn't the issue. I just lost.
No PS5 excuse. Yeah, I don't know if that's the PCs or just Europe, because I hear they don't really believe in AC that much.
Yeah, it was just hot.
Maybe that's the trade-off. We had to deal with PS5, but at least we get AC at our tournaments. So I don't know. I'll pick your poison there. But this tournament, so CPT Singapore, first one with 2 spots available. Your run, I'm just like looking at your actual page for it, kind of absurd. Who did you play first in pools? Because at this tournament, for people who didn't see it, this is the most densely attended CPT event aside from Evo, but I guess the density is even higher because in pools you had players like Gen Fudo playing in pools, DCQ, Tokido playing in pools. Like any one of these pools could have been literally the grand finals of Evo, practically. Like, and you're having that in pools the whole time. And your run, did you have any warm-up matches, like any matches from like local competitors, or was it straight to super heavy hitters?
Yeah, I think my first match was against like a local player. I think it was like 1500 MR, and then my second match was like against a 1800 MR player from Japan, and then my last match, winners finals of my pool, was against Liang Liang, like the Chinese Blanca player.
Right, and he's the one who got, I think, at 8th place at Evo Japan,
yeah,
right? If I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah,
like, he didn't make it to the top 6 stage, but he came out of. He had a really good run at that tournament, taking out a lot of top players. I don't exactly recall who, but that was the first time I saw his name around. I saw that match. It was kind of, wasn't there like a lot of flubs? It was kind of a
I think I was supposed to lose match. The first round of the last game, but then he choked it, like he dropped his combo,
right?
And then I came back that round, and then I won the next round. So like, who knows if he didn't drop that combo, like I might have just lost, like right there.
Yeah, could have been a completely different timeline, but instead you went through that, and then you beat Bravery 2-0. Bravery is from Singapore, right? And he's been to Capcom Cup. Or he qualified multiple times. I think he actually went in 2022, or Capcom Cup 9, the final one for Street Fighter 5. I think he was there in person, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
Then you beat Goichi, and then Kawano, and then finally losing to Higuchi. I mean, that's a crazy run right there. Bravery, Goichi, Kawano. Was there any like surprises along that way? Like, how did you feel in any of those matches? Were you like, oh, nice, I played good, or were you surprised by your performance so far?
It wasn't really surprising. I think part of it also is that like there's prep time between days. Like after, like I was able to just focus like on pools day for like the 2 top players in my pool, like Liang Liang, and then Trashbox was also in my pool. And then the second day, top 96, I only had to like focus on like the 3 people I could possibly play against in winners, which was Bravery, Goichi, and then Momochi. And then Goichi luckily beat Momochi, who I feel like would have been harder.
Okay.
And then like top 16 day, I just focus on like a few more people. So I feel like being able to spread out the matches like that like gives me a bit more confidence, because like I don't have to like think about so many matchups and can just focus like on a few things, which is, I feel like, different than a lot of tournaments this year too. A lot of tournaments have been kind of endurance tests. Like Evo Saturday is basically just like playing for 12 hours. Both of the Dream Hacks this year, which were the EWC qualifiers, also were like that, because it was the whole tournament until top 8 in one day, and they just ran Tekken on Saturday for some reason.
Yeah, that was weird about the DreamHacks. I'm not sure why they chose that format. So it sounds like you like the fact that they split up the top 16 on the final day to give it a bit more time, and also to give credit to like the other events as well. This is a Street Fighter 6 only event, right? So like logistically, they're afforded a lot more breathing room to put more matches on stream and spread things out more, because they don't have to cater to 13 games and, you know, thousands of attendees for other games as well. But Evo, it's funny you mentioned that, because like at Evo, you could argue that you're not hitting the same depth of opponents early on, but if you survive Saturday, or if you're trying to survive to make top 6, like you are playing like 10 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Yeah,
literally.
That's
like,
what happened
literally
this year.
what you're doing.
I feel like everyone ran out of steam.
Right.
Like going into it, because I think I played my first pool at like 10 a.m. and then I was probably playing until like 8 p.m. And
you can't really eat, or, you know, like, and you have breaks in between, but it's like, when do you really take a break or refuel? You can't eat too much, you're gonna get the itis and fall asleep. Like, it's how you pace that is so difficult. And you got 9th at Evo, right?
Yeah, I lost to Zen actually, so I got my run back.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that was actually a run back between you two.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I could not believe that Zhen was seed 89. Like, when I was looking at that, like, Fudo Zhen happening in pools to me was mind blowing. To give credit to the organizers, I mean, I looked at the other pools. It's like it's absurd.
Yeah, but some of the seeding was definitely like not right. Like the craziest one I saw was Kosa was unseeded, like the Ken player from Japan. I think he got top 6 at Evo 2, I think, or at least close to it. Or
at Evo Japan, right?
Yeah, or I think he got 7th actually, because he lost to Lex like right before. But He was unseeded, so he played one round, and then his first match was Moke, and then he beat Moke. So Moke lost his first round match because Kosa was unseeded.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't understand why it's such a problem in Street Fighter esports. Like, why is it 2024 and we still have this issue where players are just not seeded? Like, and part of the problem, I think, is the format, the fact that it's like these international
there's no points, so
tournaments.
Some people might just not know.
Right, there's no points, but still you have World Warrior points. But at the same time, I'm not sure what how Kosa is doing right now in the World Warrior. He previously in the first season, he was, I think, in the regional finals, if I remember correctly,
or
at least a contender.
Yeah.
So he's had a history
in the regional finals.
Oh, so Moke got Moke was pissed about that then, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So he's had a history of placing in CPT style events, but when it's not like an international leaderboard like the CPT was before, how can you really then rank them? I mean, you have to make some kind of biased judgment, or I mean, it's not that biased if you're saying, oh, a Japan 5th place is better than a US Midwest 5th place. You know what I mean? I think that's fair to say, but it's not, there's no objective ranking. So you're playing some kind of politics there in the seeding. And so this crap keeps happening where people who are accomplished players don't get seeded, and then you can mess up the brackets. It's like such a frustrating thing looking at the outside in. But your seeding seemed pretty good for you. I mean, your path.
Apparently, I was third
was
seed,
not bad,
which I feel like is crazy. But
you were third seed.
Apparently, I'm not sure about it, but I think that's what I heard. But I guess I outplaced it, so they seeded me too low.
Oh, okay. There we go. Oh, yeah. That explains your motivation. You had a lot to live up to, because third seed. No offense, nephew, but
it's crazy.
Wow. Okay, but this was your first. Was this your first Premier top 3? Because you got the week before you were at ECT and you placed 5th, if I remember correctly. But you had a good run because you took out Big Bird. Was there any other heavy hitters you beat in the process? Oh, that's what happened. Okay, I'm misremembering. You got the run back versus Kaba.
Yeah. But Cream said, I think I had a better run because I beat Boost and then lost to Mena in a really close set. And I think I lost to Anywalker, but I got 5th there too. So this was my first time actually making money from Capcom, because 5th place at those tournaments, you get no money from Capcom.
Which is a far cry from how it used to be. I mean, so you started really traveling in 2017, correct?
Yeah.
I think we kind of started playing a bit more consistently the tournaments at a similar time frame. And I think you were more like the later half of the year, right? Did you go to in 2017, like the earlier half? Did you start traveling then?
I went to Combo Breaker in Evo, and then I went to a few ranking tournaments, but then I think the only other Premier I went to was Canada Cup, where I beat you.
Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah, that was weirdly enough, I would say that was an upset at the time. Like, you were on the come up back then, and I was actually on the verge of qualifying. If I had beat you in Idazan, I would have qualified for Capcom Cup. Like, there was a path there for me to do it. So you gate kept me, by the way. I don't know if you know that. Then I lost to Punk after. So he gate kept the world for years. So this is what he does. So yeah, you started traveling then, and those CPT events, I think it was like 10,000 to 15,000 for first, and you definitely got paid for top 8. If you got 5th place, you got at least 1,500. From what I remember, because I had 2 top 8s during the 17 and 19 era, and you always made a couple of thousand or at least 1,500. So you're saying now they don't even pay out beyond top 3?
Yeah, for premieres, no, it's top 4. So premieres, it's I think 2,000, 1,000, like 700, 500 or something, and then 0 for 5th and below. Yeah, and then super premier, it's like 10,000, 3K, 2K, 1K, which is also lower than, because I looked at what they had for the super premiere in 2019. It was like 50K then 10K. And
the concept of super premiere is much different. They introduced that in 2019, and it was an absurd amount of money. And I believe Hot Dog won the main one, or I don't know if there was more than one, but the NA regional finals had like the open bracket tournament, which was also the super premiere.
Yeah.
So it was weird. They did the NA regional finals, which is the top 8 NA players.
Yeah.
And I think Knuckledew won that. And then he tried to win the NA regional finals open.
Oh, never mind. I think CJ was 2018 or something. Never mind.
Yeah, CJ had a really good run in 2018, but that was a really weird time because they had like 2 congruent events, and they did that multiple times in Street Fighter 5. So that closed tournament, I think Do almost won both.
Yeah, he got second in the
which is
to Hot Dog.
Yeah, so he made 10K from that second place. Hot Dog got 50,000. I think that was the first time there was a prize pool that big, 50,000 for a random open bracket tournament. And then but Do won the NA regional finals over Punk. So that was a good weekend for Do, but he almost had first place in 2 separate tournaments at the same event, which would have been absurd.
Yeah.
But with your history, so 2017 you started competing. Are you in like college at this time? You were very young back then. I didn't realize how young you were.
Yeah, I started college in 2016, so I was a sophomore in college. Yeah, and then I graduated in 2019, and then I started working. So since then I had like a job, and then
you only went to school for 3 years?
Yeah, I graduated a year early.
Did we talk about this before? I vaguely remember having this conversation with you one time. That's a very accelerated path to take. Because you did, I'm guessing, computer engineering or computer science?
Yeah, computer science. It was honestly like not like hard to do because I basically took like a normal amount of classes each semester. And I just had like my school took like a lot of AP credits basically. So I didn't have to take like random classes at all. So I just basically had to skip all that.
Yeah, that does help you do that. For myself, I had a lot of those AP credits coming in. They cut you off from my university. They had a limit. I couldn't take that many. But I definitely still took, I think, 4.5 years to graduate. I wasn't in a rush. It seems like I'm surprised you're able to do that because you're saying it was a normal amount of classes, but you're traveling heavily at this time. How is that even possible?
That wasn't that crazy.
You were at a couple of tournaments, like at least 7 tournaments a season, right? I mean, that's pretty frequent to.
Yeah, but I think most of them were in the summer. I don't think most of them were like during the year. Okay,
so you tried to plan around your school at this time.
Yeah, I think so.
And did you ever travel during an active semester? Like, was there ever a time where you were faced with some kind of choice, like budgeting your time? Should I risk traveling when I need to focus on something for school? Was there ever a conflict of that kind?
Not really. I guess like basically when I had my like finals for like the winter classes or fall semester is when the Capcom Cup LCQ was, so I never got to go to like the LCQ back in like 2017 2018 and then I think in Street Fighter League Season 1 in 2019, I had like a midterm or something that I just skipped because I like it's the last semester and I didn't really care about my grades anymore. So I just went to play Street Fighter League.
Well, did you already have like an employment prospect lined up, or you were just taking it?
Yeah, I had my like job lined up.
Okay.
There's just kind of no point. Okay. Like it's just whatever.
I mean, who knows? They might have been last second. Like, hey, man, what happened with this credit? We need people who are dedicated to the grind. I don't know. But yeah, that's interesting that you just completely abandoned it. That Street Fighter League, I mean, that was for nothing. Like we barely, we weren't even going to get paid for that. There was some.
No, actually, I was going to get paid for it because I was a captain. They gave the captain.
Oh, you were a captain in that one? Wait, in season 1, you were a captain?
Yeah, for Team Frost.
Which makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Who was on your team? I'm forgetting who your team was.
It was Dual Kevin up to snuff.
Okay. Yes. I had to play. You guys kept banning me. I have bad memories of that Street Fighter League. That's the only Street Fighter League I was on, and like 70% of the time they had character bans back then, and I kept having my Balrog banned. I had to play my really crusty Abigail.
Yeah, and we could ban you both times. I think later seasons you could only ban one time.
They started to roll it back because I think they realized they were sending out people just to die. Like IDOM got banned, of course, every single time.
Yeah.
And every team played each other twice, so there was no variety. It's just IDOM was there to play birdie and not win. Yeah. They had a lot to work out. I cannot believe they sent all of us part-time people. Like none of that class of Street Fighter League Season 1 was a full-time pro except for like Justin Wong and Punk. And maybe JB. I can't even. Maybe JB. Yeah, Knuckle-Doo. There you go. But the vast majority of the teams are comprised of people who do this as like a hobby on the side that they dedicate a lot of time to. People working full time. you in school. They take 2 weeks of your time away, and most of us weren't even going to get paid in the beginning, and then they ban your character. So they had a lot to work out.
Yeah,
a lot to work out with that. It was kind of rough at first, but you did that. Did you do more Street Fighter League prior to COVID? At that point, there was the second season. Were you a part of that one?
The second season, like I had basically just started work, so I didn't really want to just start work and be like, yo, I gotta take 2 weeks off to play in Street Fighter League. So I skipped that one, but then I think there wasn't a season again until 2020, so I played in that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
And were they interested in bringing you back as a captain?
No, because the captains were like super top players, right? Because it was like Punk,
right,
and then like Big Bird, and then Hot Dog, maybe, or Xian. I don't know, but like the teams were like crazy.
I think it might have been
Xian.
Xian. Yeah, because that's when they started opening up to the international players. Basically, anyone not in Street Fighter League Japan and EU were then allowed to enter the US one. But that's interesting you mentioned that, like, super top players, because I think that's what's interesting about your story right now, is because you've been, since 2017, you're a very strong player, and you're one of the best in NA for a long time. But I think over the years, you've steadily been able to keep climbing that ladder, and you had fairly good results prior to COVID. I mean, you definitely took some big names, but you never, I don't think you had any, correct me if I'm wrong, you had no CPT Premier top 8s pre-2020.
I don't think so. I think the closest I got was the 9th when I beat you.
Oh, yeah. Okay. You're welcome. Did you beat Itazan after me? Because I think the next match was going to be Itazan.
I lost to Goichi and then Itazan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you had that was one of your biggest breakout performances, I feel like. And then there was the NA regional finals. You were there as well, and the open bracket. Or were you qualified?
I was qualified. That's also how I got into Street Fighter League, because they basically just took the top 6 in points. Like, as a captain, they just took the top 6 and made them captains. So, yeah, I think in that tournament, I just lost to Punk and then Justin immediately. Maybe I played someone else, but it was I definitely lost to those two.
Right. I mean, those were Justin Wong was serious back then too. Those are two tough opponents to go up against. So, but during that time, you kept improving. 2020 happens, things go online. You're still working at this time. Mm-hmm. Did you start working remote? Like, you weren't originally working remote, right?
Yeah, like I wasn't working remote in 2019, but it was only for like, I guess 7 months or so. Because I just started working, and then everything like went remote. So yeah, I did that.
Did you see that as like an opportunity to invest more in Street Fighter? Because as someone, I'm still working full time. This is my thing on the side. I did see that also. Like, a lot of people saw that as like, oh, we're no longer spending time traveling to tournaments. Like, what else can we do to increase our footprint or increase our value in this scene? So I took that as an opportunity to focus more on YouTube and doing content and things like that. And we still had the online infrastructure for competing. I'm just wondering if during that time you felt a similar opportunity, or like, did you make any moves in that sense?
I think I tried a little bit, but definitely not as many moves as you guys made. Like, you and I think Punk like really grinded during that time.
Right.
And I feel like it's because like the road wasn't like there yet to make like a Street Fighter YouTube channel, so I didn't really like consider it really. But then once you and Punk and Justin like started doing it a lot more, I was like, I can do it too, so I'll just copy you guys.
Right. Well, you didn't just copy us, you innovated. You were the first FGC TikToker. That's
true. Had to take my spin on it, you know.
I still crack all the Sage Aim slammers that they found the old video of you making Punk do the TikTok dance.
Yeah, I don't know how they found that. That's ancient lore.
Yeah,
at this point, that's like 4.5 years old.
It is. Are you still proud of your TikTok accomplishments?
I mean, I don't mind it, but I feel like it's weird seeing that because it's so long ago, and I was just bored at that time.
It's the internet, man. It's there forever. It comes back up, and it's funny. You never know, like, the things you put out there that will like circle back around. I definitely have random clips and memes that like pop up here and there, and I'm like, dude, I barely even remembered like this was a thing.
Yeah.
And it circles back around. The internet's forever. So you then did start making a YouTube channel because you've been pretty active for a long time now on the content side of things as well. So how did you go about then balancing the content side with competing, and when around what time frame was this? Like you started in Street Fighter 5, right? This was prior to Street Fighter 6.
Yeah, I think in 2021 is when. Oh, that's my alarm to try and wake up. Hold on, let me turn it off.
real gamer hours here. My man said, "Oh yeah, I just woke up. It's 1 o'clock."
Yeah, I woke up earlier than I expected. I thought I was gonna
listen.
Wake up
You changed ever since you went full time.
Yeah.
You changed, nephew.
Yeah. So in 2021, I think is when I got like an editor, and like I wasn't doing stuff like completely by myself. And I started just like uploading gameplay and stuff. And I think it was pretty easy to manage both at that time. Competing and content, because personally I feel like it's not like between content, competing, and like having a job, it's like possible to do two of them if you work hard, but like doing all three is like kind of not possible. But at that time, like competing wasn't really competing because it was just like 1 or 2 tournaments like online tournaments a year. There wasn't like offline tournaments or anything, so you kind of just like lock in for that 1 week before your premiere and then try and qualify.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that you can only do 2, not 3, because that's something I've been feeling for years. It's been very difficult to manage that time, and I agree. I do think it's something that you can definitely manage part-time. I think there's a pipeline there to, if you're gonna stream, just make it so that it's something that can be taken for YouTube. And I mean, the investment you had for an editor is really what enables that. That's something that I went through, right? It's like, okay, if you try to edit your own videos and make them higher quality, then I think you're you have no time.
Yeah,
I think that's almost an impossible thing. So I think you and I had a similar position where it's like, okay, we have money from an actual job. We can spend money now to invest in this YouTube, because for myself, I mean, I was losing money on the YouTube channel for a while, right? Like while building it up, editing costs were more than what it made in return in terms of ad revenue, but it was an investment I saw. So I do think that's something that for people who want to keep that in mind, like you might have to do that unless you're trying to carry it all on your own and not do like the Twitch to YouTube pipeline, like you're actually trying to make more personal projects. I think just investing in an editor and biting the bullet is kind of required.
Yeah, I think in some ways it's easier to do that like when you have a job, because it's like you can kind of justify just like spending money on that because you're still making money. But maybe for like other pro players, like they're just trying to keep whatever money they have from competing.
Yeah, it's an interesting perspective. I feel like you formed a sort of stable foundation that allowed you to build your brand in other ways, because if you're a full-time pro and your team isn't paying for this, I don't know if you have the disposable income to build your socials in that way.
Yeah, it's much more of a risk at that point.
Yeah, and you might have the time, but then you're really spending a lot of time not focusing on competing and practicing. Like editing is an art, and that takes a lot of repetition. And I did a lot of it myself in the beginning, which was why the YouTube didn't grow for so long. It was just very slow, like one video every 2 weeks maybe. And that video I was working on for an hour every day or something.
Yeah.
But I appreciate that I went through that, because at least I understood what goes into making a video, even one with just basic cuts and basic narrative structure or whatever. You get an appreciation for what it is. Because I think some people, they don't understand how much work that is, and they're like, oh man, this guy charged me $3 to edit a 15-minute video. How dare he? And I'm like, dude, give him some money. Like, this is hard work. It takes a lot of time. So did you edit your own videos at first to get that perspective as well?
Yeah, at first I did. Because like mostly I just didn't know how to like find an editor. And I didn't really know that was like a thing that people did, like find editors to edit their own videos. But I think once I like saw like that's kind of how people were doing it, like you and Punk and Justin and all, I guess, the Panda people back in the day, I just try and copy that.
Yeah, I mean that's what you're supposed to do. I mean, we copy just other people, right? Like there's definitely a way to turn whatever you're doing into something that's engaging, right? Either it's like tutorial or something, just information that's valuable, or if it's going to be entertainment, it has to have some kind of like hook, some kind of narrative format to it. And if I think that's the big issue when everyone was first starting, it was like, okay, I can just upload myself grinding ranked mindlessly, but that's not going to get any. Like, why would someone watch that unless you're Smug? Like, Smug was the exception to this, and he was the first one to really get this going. But Smug is just so freaking funny, right? Yeah. And he had all these catchphrases, and he still, even within those videos, he still would have like a central maybe theme or like a central opponent that he went up with. That was the kind of the framing of the video. But none of us are Smug. Like, none of us are 1/10 as funny or charismatic as he is, right? So you have to have something else that carries you and not rely on personality. And I noticed that with your videos, like you really gravitated towards that. And you would often, you explain with the introduction, like, oh, this viewer, he was talking shit. So I looked at his replays and saw how bad he was. Like there's some kind of hook that you find in the beginning.
Yeah, otherwise I don't know what to title the video. I gotta find something.
Yeah. But that's the whole point. If you can't have a good title for the video, it's not a good video.
Yeah.
Like if you can't make a clickable title, I think then you realize like, oh, like this video is not very good, right? So yeah, it's good that you found that flow, because I think your content has been getting progressively better and better in building. And so you were doing that and during 2021, and you said you weren't really competing that much, but you're still winning these CPT events. Like at the time, we assumed that, like especially 2021. You were going to Capcom Cup. Like that was the assumption.
Yeah, I did assume that. In 2022, I qualified. Yeah, I think that was the first time. When I beat Samurai. That match was crazy.
Right. Yeah, and you played him in the season finals. I remember that match. I think you smoked him bad in the season finals.
Yeah, I think it was like 4-1. It was like a first to 4. Yeah,
2020. It was optimistic that a Capcom Cup was happening in 2020. I feel like so at that time that's when the format we have today, it was inspired by these regional online formats. So people were trying to get hyped to compete and like trying to take it serious. And I think in 2020 it was like very like, okay, I think this will happen. But I think there was a big understanding that most likely we're not having the offline Capcom Cup. Like the world was really upside down at that time. 2021 though, it was a very ambiguous time. And so yeah, you qualified out of that one, and that was the year I qualified as well. How did you feel when that one was canceled? Because you had not been to Capcom Cup at this point. You were steadily improving this whole time. It's not like you were just placing high because the competition was whack. You were actually for sure getting better, having more consistent results, participating in Street Fighter League. Finally qualified. There's a shot that's going to happen, and then they canceled it.
Yeah,
how did that feel?
I mean, it felt horrible. Obviously, like I really felt like I could win that one. 2022, like 2020, I also felt that way because it was only 20 players, I think. So both times, I feel like I had a really good shot at like doing damage. But
right.
Yeah, after that is actually when I started looking for another job to try and get some more money. Because I was like, if I just make some more money, because Capcom Cup's not happening, like what's the point of trying to make money through competing right now? I can just make some more money now and then maybe go full time later.
You're saying like your goal then was to focus on your main career and build a reserve of savings to make the jump. Like you had a conscious plan to make this happen.
Yeah, because I think in like 2021 is when I kind of was like, maybe I could do this full time. Because prior to that, like I didn't really think about it. Like it wasn't really a thing that was happening. Yeah, I think just like being on the internet so long, it like inspires you more to, because you see all these streamers and people doing it. Yeah, I think around that time I was like, okay, how do I get to the point where I could do this full time potentially? And I was like, well, I could win Capcom Cup or like make a good YouTube channel. so I couldn't win Capcom Cup. So I was just like, all right, let's.
Wow.
Yeah.
And not that you couldn't win Capcom Cup because you didn't have the skill to, you just the opportunity was rug pulled.
Yeah.
And then you didn't have that chance. Because were they still advertising at that time the prize pool? I don't recall if they actually announced it was going to be the same 250K or not, but it was really understood up until like the month before, I believe, that Capcom Cup was happening. Because I remember myself and Rob also were like, we also felt super confident that year too. I feel like so many players in the NA scene 2021 was like a lot of our peak, right? And I think you are the one who kind of, and a few others, made it through that. But like me and Rob, like to me, that was our peak. Like our characters were super strong. Like everything was lining up. Our characters are strong. We're getting better. We put in enough hours, and like now is the time to make a dent internationally. Like it really felt like these were lining up like that. And then poof, it was all gone. And Rob quit. Like Rob literally checked out then. I myself was like, okay, well, time to play Oro. You know, like it was like fun mode. Like I kind of checked out from trying to I was trying to win with Oro, but not trying to, not the same as trying to win with Balrog at the time. But did you feel that way as well? Because it sounds like you were pivoting more towards work and content.
Yeah.
Were you still grinding competitively though to prepare for the next venture?
I did a little bit, like for the like online premieres and stuff, but I think I pretty much checked out too, because like after that season Colleen got nerfed too. Like I think V Trigger like lasted like half as long basically, and she did way less damage or something. So I think if I was still like motivated and stuff, I would have like either picked up Luke or Cody a lot earlier instead of like trying to stick with Colleen, because I think Cody also fit my playstyle a lot, and I didn't really think like I was checked out. I didn't care about like learning a new character until like World Warrior Finals. I was like, I'm gonna give it one last shot. It's my last chance to try and make a Capcom Cup for Street Fighter 5. So I tried learning Cody like the 1 month leading up to it to try to beat Chris CCH, and then I didn't actually get to play him because I lost to the two Roses.
So you lost to Flaquito and Filipino Man?
Yeah, they cooked me.
Yeah, West Coast was they were one of the more dedicated pockets of the scene towards the end. I feel like actually, I like Chris CCH, Flaquito, Filipino Man. Them three. And who else am I forgetting? I'm sorry. There's one more person. Jot, yes. Jot was really grinding with them as well, and I feel like all four of them were really leveling up. And I got to see that because I started competing in WNF, and I feel like from the moment I moved to like the later end, they all kept getting way, way stronger. And you and Chris CCH also had like that rivalry for a long time as the two strongest in the West. But it was interesting to see that they actually kind of picked up that mantle and kept pushing the meta. And you felt like at that time like you were kind of falling behind them.
Yeah, like I felt like the beginning of the season, I think I got third at the premiere, or like the online like tournament basically. And I felt good then, but like over the course of it, like I just kept losing to Chris CCH over and over again.
Right.
Like
because he was playing Luke. He adapted. Like Luke was busted. People were complaining about season 1 Luke for Street Fighter 6. The Street Fighter 5 Luke was a different beast. It wasn't even the same. I think Luke was the best character in season 1 of Street Fighter 6. But that still doesn't even compare to how much better Luke in Street Fighter 5 was.
And it was a bad matchup for Colleen, I think. So it just didn't. It wasn't good for me.
Yeah, and then you're forced to compete basically exclusively with that person who is picking the best character in the game that counters your character, and there's no other avenue, right? Like you can't beat other world-class players to get in. You have to beat that one person.
Yeah.
So I can see how that'd be super demoralizing. So at this time, you're mostly then focusing on work and you're building your YouTube at the same time. But with Street Fighter 6 coming up, was there a sense of like renewed hope for this? Like you were still focusing on building your savings to hit some imaginary figure. Did you have a figure in mind as well of when this would be financially possible?
Not really. Just get as much money as possible, and then if I can do something in Street Fighter 6, then I'll have like money.
So it was more about prepping for Street Fighter 6. You felt like you were building some kind of financial cushion, and then you wanted to see how Street Fighter 6 went.
Yeah, because I felt like with Street Fighter 5, I wasn't like growing that much, I would say. Like I feel like you and Punk were like really able to leverage Street Fighter 5 somehow, even though like I feel like the player base wasn't that crazy. But I felt like Street Fighter 6, like there's gonna be a lot more players, and there's like a chance I can actually grow a lot more. So I was more focused on that, I think, at that point, because there's only one more year of Street Fighter 5. They already showed like the trailer for Street Fighter 6. Like, yeah, my motivation was just dead.
Yeah. If you didn't have like a character at that time, see, for me, and I think that's the reason why my channel was able to grow at the time, is I just loved Oro, you know, and he was a newer character, and there was so much. I still get like sentimental thinking about it, because I feel like there's so much more to do with that character that never got done. So many more combos and whatever that never got to be explored because he was such a technical character. But if you didn't have that, if you weren't playing one of the latest DLC characters, like a Rose, who I think was also very complex or whatever, it was over. And most of the player base fell off because of that. And then a few stuck around because the last season of DLC was very good, actually, except for Luke and Akira. I hate Akira. But,
she had cool combos.
But it sounds like
though.
you were... I guess I'll give her that. I really despise Akira. Her spaced out buttons, they annoyed me so much. Her V skill,
yeah,
like her constant range with spacing traps and her stupid face. Anyways, I'm a hater. But yeah, so you were checked out like a lot of the players, but you were still building your chops and getting your reps in with the content creation. So when Street Fighter 6 was launching, were you more thinking of becoming the best player to win Capcom Cup, or were you trying to kind of balance that with taking off as a content creator? Because it sounds like you were thinking, how can I go full time as a gaming content creator more than anything?
Yeah, I mean, I was just trying to think of like trying to go full time no matter how, like either way.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if I really had like more of a focus in mind. I was just trying to do both the best I could. And I don't know if it was really sustainable, but like for that, I guess first few months, like I was just grinding really hard and doing a lot of YouTube videos, like the Road to Master, and then trying to get good at the game too.
And this is while you're working at Google, correct?
Yeah.
I don't want to put your personal information out there, but you made the announcement tweet, of course. The reason why we're talking about this is because you did eventually succeed in this ability to make the jump, and you revealed the Google employee ID card. So you weren't originally working at Google. So this was then the higher paying job that you moved into, to build your savings.
Yeah.
Interesting. So Street Fighter 6 drops, you're working at Google, and you're just grinding Street Fighter 6. How are you balancing work life at this time? And I don't even maybe there was no life. Maybe it was just work Street Fighter. Like what was that daily schedule like?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty much just work Street Fighter, I feel like. And I think like the first month Street Fighter 6 came out, like for some reason our office was like there was like they were doing something to it, so we couldn't work there. So we were just working at home like that for whole first month. So I was definitely just like sneaking in time to just make YouTube videos and stuff and play the game. Yeah.
So you're wiggling your work mouse and then working on the YouTube video on the side.
Yeah, pretty much.
Were you still able to like actually manage performing at your job? Like, was there any difficulty, or did you get caught like not like slacking off? Like how did that go? Because you were doing this for months then.
Yeah,
I mean, a year maybe.
Yeah, I think I was doing okay at my job, but I would say like towards the end I was doing a lot worse, like because I was traveling a lot more too. Like this year, I'm talking about with like all the EWC qualifiers, going to like Sweden and CEO and DreamHacks.
Yeah, like so. How can you even justify that to your employer? Like, were you really restricting your time off for the travel? Because when I used to work in office and travel a lot for CPT, I would do things like I would fly out Friday night. I would maybe leave work a little early on Friday, and then if it was an East Coast tournament, I would fly out that Friday, fly back Monday morning early as hell, use the 1 hour save because I was Midwest from East Coast, save an hour, and then I would go to the office straight from the airport. Like I would do stuff like that just to find time to go to all these tournaments. And if I had to take a day off, I would, or I would work remote like one day, like I fly out Thursday night, work remote on Friday at the hotel, of the event, things like that. Like
Yeah.
I was finding so many ways to squeeze the days to make it happen. And looking back at that, I thought like I was gonna kill myself doing that. Like I really looking back on that era, I was like, there's no way I could survive that life
Yeah.
for more time, right? Like COVID and working from home and limiting the travel like allowed me to like recharge and rest. So were you finding yourself in a similar position at this time to try to budget your time with traveling?
Yeah, that's kind of like the final like straw, I guess, that kind of made me decide to quit, was just like the amount of travel I was doing. I definitely felt like I was probably gonna burn out. Like I think it was still possible, like technically possible to like do everything, but it was just, I feel like, too hard, like mentally, to try and do everything.
I think physically as well. I mean, just
maybe
there's limited hours in the day, but you were like, were there times you're at work and you're just thinking like, man, I wish I could be practicing, like
yeah,
was
it
it just
yeah.
It's really interesting because I mean I relate heavily to what you're talking about, right? Because you know, some people will look at that and they'll be like, oh, like that's such a silly thing to do. You're working at Google or you're working at this huge company. You have a bright financial future ahead of you. But I don't know. There's something about just chasing your passion. And I've seen some comments saying, oh, it's stupid to do X, Y, or Z like that. But at the same time, it's kind of stupid to not live your life the way you want to. And if you're able to secure some kind of financial stability and chase your dream while you're young, it might be stupider to not do that. You know?
Yeah.
And so those are things that I definitely grapple with myself. I think about it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been riding that line for years now, and it's not easy. Not easy being in both worlds. So since you made the jump, was it like a scary decision to make? Or were you just knew you were ready?
No, I don't think I was scared at all, and I feel completely fine with it even now, like 2 or 3 months after. Like, I personally don't feel like it's really that much of a risk, because I feel like I can just go back and work. Maybe not at Google, but I think like with my resume, I could just find another job pretty easily. Maybe that's like arrogant, because I think the job market is bad right now, but I feel like I personally feel like it shouldn't be too bad, like at least possible eventually. So I don't think it's a huge risk. And I figured like I might as well, like if it doesn't work out 2 or 3 years from now, I just go back. And if it does, then it's 2 or 3 of my years of my life that I'm like happy doing this, because I've never been able to like do the full-time player thing of like traveling to tournaments, and I feel like it's something I always saw and wanted to try out. So like I wanted to go to all these tournaments, and it's been really cool so far.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's obviously working out, right? You've had amazing results since making the big jump. And so I guess Esports World Cup, though, you were there. That was before you made the announcement, correct? Or when was the actual announcement?
It was right
made?
After. So I made like the tweet, and then I flew out like 2 days after for EWC. Okay,
so it's right around that time. And I mean, you had a really good showing there too. I mean, kind of an unfortunate ending, I guess, with Tachikawa. But what was that like, going to Saudi Arabia across the world to play Street Fighter?
Yeah, I went there for Gamers 8 last year too, but I guess this year was a bit different since it wasn't like an invitational. Like this year you had to actually qualify for it. But like it's amazing how they treat us. Like the tournament itself and like being there as a player is really just like super nice, because you just go to a really nice hotel, then there's a buffet in the hotel that you can go to and eat whatever you want, and then you go, like there's practice rooms too. It's just like 2 players per practice room, and you can go and practice whenever you want to. So like they treat the players really well.
I mean, I imagine. I mean, they're throwing around money like it's candy, dude. It seems like a whole completely different world. And you were able to attend that also because you had to qualify, and a big part of that reason, I would say, or I'm wondering, is because you're sponsored by Team Liquid, correct? Like that's been part of your financial pie right now. Is that you're a sponsored player. How did that come to be, and how has it been like working with Team Liquid?
Yeah, so they approached me like I think in January or something. It was actually before Capcom Cup. Because I think like a lot of teams were scouting players for EWC. Um, yeah, because they just want to do well there. And I think we signed like I signed the contract like during Capcom Cup, but it didn't really feel right to like just wear a liquid jersey at Capcom Cup when they weren't my team like before that. So like I just announced it after at Red Bull Kumite.
Okay. And but at Red Bull Kumite, it worked out because you 5-0'd IDOM, right? First round. Is that what happened? If I remember correctly?
Yeah.
Okay. I always feel like the announcement at a tournament is always such a risk.
Yeah. I had to qualify for it too. Like I had to win the play-in thing. So
right. So you weren't even a part of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. No, I mean, but the fact that you qualified the day of, correct? Like the
day before
the LCQ?
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's already a win. I think that makes it better.
Yeah.
You could have just not announced it if if you showed up and just went 0-2.
Yeah.
Like, oh, let's wait another day.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's perfect then, because you made your splash. Did you play Knuckle Do the next round, or was it the round after?
Yeah, it was the next round. And then I was like, well, I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna play some Eds.
Guile seems to be the thorn in your side, right? It feels like you've had so much growth in Street Fighter 6, but the one matchup I see you consistently struggle with is Guile.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's Juri's hardest matchup, but I do think it's winnable, which is why I just like hesitate to try and pick up a secondary for it. Season 1, I tried to pick up JP, pretty much just for that matchup, but then JP got nerfed, and I feel like Juri, with the Juri Guile matchup, I just gotta guess right. So, like, if he gets the EX flash kick that I lose, but I just gotta guess right. So I just go into a tournament. I hope I don't fight any Guiles, and if I do, I just hope I guess right.
Right, and it's interesting you're saying that because you're one of the best like random select players on the planet. Because part of your like content, first of all, when you're grinding that heavily, is you took every character to master, like easy YouTube video right there. But then also you've been trying to get random select as a character. If you guys don't know, you can select random select and it has its separate ranking in this game, and you've been trying to get your random select up to legend rank, which I think is the most absurd challenge possible in this game. And I don't know if that's possible in America. You might have to live in Japan to make that possible. The MR inflation.
When I was trying, I got pretty much hard stuck at like 1850 or so. I think I hit like 1900, but then like legend at that time was like 1970, I think, and now it's like 2100 something. So I don't think it's possible.
Impossible.
And at least for me, I think Punk could do it, but I don't know if anyone else could. So I'm gonna try when I go to Japan actually next week. I think there's 2 more days of the season or something, so I'm gonna try.
There you go. Take their MR. But yeah, it's interesting that like with how practiced you are with the entire cast, you still pretty much only play Juri in tournaments. Like, I very rarely. I mean, you tried at that Red Bull Kumite earlier in the season, Ed, because he was newer against Knuckle Do's Guile. But since then, I haven't really seen you pick anyone else that's like ride or die Juri in tournaments. Is there a reason behind that? Or like is strategic? Is it just comfort?
Yeah, I just feel so comfortable with Juri. Like I feel like playing another character, like I don't know, like I'm just not as good with them. Like with Juri, I know everything, I feel like. So going to a different character, I feel like there's so much I would have to learn in order to actually play them in tournament. Like there's a difference between like playing them in ranked and then tournament. If I like drop a combo or something, I'm gonna think about that for like forever. So I feel like I have to actually know everything before I try and pick someone.
Okay, so there's a big part of that just confidence.
Yeah, I
just
think so.
Knowing that you put the reps in. Yeah, because I was watching your. I don't know how you do the random stuff, because I feel like just swapping between characters, just keeping the combo structure straight in your head for each character, even if you've done their combos a bunch of times before. That seems like too much of a brain twister to keep up with.
Yeah, I think it's easier in this game because a lot of things you can just do the driver's combo, and then you just have to remember the like which buttons go into which ones. But yeah, it's definitely harder. And sometimes I forget the supers for each character because gotta remember which super is which.
Yeah, no, they're random. It does make you question, like, why did they make this decision? Like, why? That's something that like new players complain about, and you brush it off like, oh, whatever. Just learn just figure out which direction is level 2, which direction is level 1, whatever. And there's usually reasons behind it, but yeah, I feel like if you're playing random select, you'd be pissed about not getting your level 3. You lose your 20 MR, and you never reach legend rank. So if you actually manage to pull that off in Japan, I think that would be literally the greatest Street Fighter 6 challenge content piece ever, because I don't think anyone else will pull that off.
I think it'd be sick.
Yeah,
I think people have done it though. I think Momochi did it already.
He got to legend.
Yeah, I think like it was last year. I think though it was in like the second phase or something.
It's going to keep getting harder too if they keep adding DLC characters, or maybe easier because they're all busted. So I don't know.
Yeah, honestly, depends. I feel like it's easier to play the DLC characters because I always play them like a lot when they come out.
Yeah, so that's true. They're more fresh in your head.
Yeah,
and then I don't know, Akuma and Bison just probably seems like a free win.
Yeah, because Bison, you just have to know one combo and you're good.
That's true. Just OD Cycle Crusher when the bomb's on them, clip it and put it on Twitter. Yeah, easy likes. Okay, so now that you're full time though, that's another thing that I'm interested in, because I've always been a little unimpressed with the output of some of our full-time pros in the scene, because as someone who's been like you, kind of balancing content creation, competition, and working, I feel like there's so many more hours in the day that people could be productive in building their own brand and building up the scene as well. And I've already noticed, like, you have been, since going full time, you've hopped on doing things like your content creation is still increasing, your placements have been getting better, and you're starting to do like Metafy, like you're doing coaching and hosting like classes on there. Is that something you started picking up because you went full time to add to your schedule, or did you already start that before?
I started it after. I just wanted to try it out and see how it is. And yeah, I feel like it's been pretty good. Like it's a nice way to make some money and just share like all the knowledge I've learned playing the game, so that like it's not just wasted in my brain, you know.
That's true. I mean, you could try to put into a YouTube video, but I feel like people are willing to pay for that time, because coaching used to be very controversial in the FGC. It used to be considered like a scam. Like if you offered to do a paid coaching session, like you were seen as a scam artist. And I think now over time, it's been much more legitimized. And I personally would say that for most people that they shouldn't pay for coaching if they find the motivation to look up the resources out there, because yourself, myself, many other people, all the information is out there somewhere.
Yeah.
But I've also over the years started to grow to acknowledge, like, some people need to pay for something to motivate them to do it. Like some people need to pay. Like I would never say pay for a personal trainer, but I think some people just have to feel like they invested something. So like, oh crap, I better go to my session with my personal trainer to the gym. Oh crap, I better show up to this session with Nephew and
it makes you feel more invested.
Yeah, make him watch me drop this combo over and over. You know? So it's awesome that you're offering that. Do you do the one-on-one coaching as well? I've
never done the one-on-one coaching. I've just done like classes and guides so far. Maybe eventually I'll do the one-on-one coaching, but probably not. I feel like it's just more worth it to do the classes. I feel like because I can make it cheaper for the students because there'll be more of them, and then I can also make more money because there'll be more of them too.
No, I agree. I mean, I've gotten random messages all the time like, oh, how much to book a session with you? Like people have asked me plenty of times actually over the years, and I was always like, dude, just go to YouTube, whatever. Like ask me a question in Twitch chat. But then, like I mentioned, I became more open to it, to having coaching sessions. But my biggest pushback was always like, it's not worth my time, because to help one person one-on-one when I could put out a YouTube video that is there permanently and could help thousands of people potentially seems much more valuable for everyone involved, right? Unless I was to charge an exorbitant rate, you know, just for the money of it. And that's not really, I think, something that I would be comfortable with. So I like this concept of you hosting these classes, because it kind of addresses that issue of scale. Like you're able to
it's like
make
right
some
in
income
between.
for your time.
I feel like it's a good sweet spot. Yeah,
that's definitely something I thought about as well. And also, not everything on YouTube like always hits the right audience, because people click based on entertainment, whatever. It's good to have a home, I feel like, for these sorts of things where it's easier to find, because YouTube is much more like algorithmically driven. Whatever is pushed to your feed that day, that's what you watch, and then it's gone forever. Right? Like no one's going to your backlog usually. Very rare to look up a guide or
and you can do more
how do I do a
things.
crosscut.
I feel like if you just make a video on like a random piece of tech, it's probably not going to do that good, but you can just talk about that in like a class, and people are really happy about it because they're just trying to learn.
The audience is more the audience is there that actually will find it the most valuable, and that's something that I've been like on a kick about recently as well, like how I've been trying to think about content and producing in the FGC. It's like providing value to the end user is so important, and if you want to provide the most value to the most people with like things like tech, you have to find a way to make it like way more engaging. Like here's how you do an option select. Like that alone is not going to reach anybody. No one's going to watch it. Maybe there's one or two people who are like, oh, thank you, I really needed this. But to make that appealing to a wider audience so that it actually survives on the platform, you have to really like build a story about it. Here's how this happened in a tournament. What happened here? Let me do a deep dive on this. You have to really build a narrative, which is fun to do. But that makes it a lot of effort to cover every little piece of tech in the game. So I feel like you're kind of leading the forefront in this class thing, because I haven't seen many people in the FGC, or at least in the Street Fighter scene, do that. Yeah,
I think it's because they just launched it like a few months ago. So it's kind of newer, but I've seen a few people trying to do it, like Smug and I think IDOM. But yeah, I don't know.
Their class is good. Nephew hasn't.
I feel like maybe they haven't like advertised it as much either.
Right. No, you've been pushing. I mean, I've been seeing that you've been having these. Maybe I should sign up as a secret student and review your class.
Yeah, I think it's nicer also when you have a YouTube channel, because you can just make your own ad. If you don't have a sponsor, you're just sponsoring yourself.
That's true. Yeah, I think that's the thing that I really appreciate about what you've done. Is that you built yourself in a way where you don't necessarily need a sponsor. Like you first of all, you got a little bit of savings so that you can make this push to do full-time gaming, both content creation and competition. You built up your branding and your content so that there's some kind of revenue in return for your streaming hours and your YouTube hours. You're now pushing these classes as well. I know that Team Liquid is supporting you, and that's like definitely helping you out financially. But, and I think this is relevant to anyone interested in pursuing the space, like it's not guaranteed that any esports team is going to last. Like that's something that is not, you shouldn't rely on it. You should welcome a sponsorship if it comes, but if you are banking on a sponsorship to live, I think that's such a precarious place to be. And so many fighting game players, I think, fall into that trap where it's like, if their sponsorship dries up, it's over.
Yeah.
like nothing to fall back on.
Yeah, I think another thing that's helpful nowadays though is because of EWC. Like if you're performing really well in big tournaments, you're pretty much guaranteed to have like some sort of salary on the team the next time EWC rolls around. Maybe it'll only be like a 6-month contract, like a lot of players had, but you're guaranteed like a team is going to pick you up to try for EWC.
That's true. I mean, there's a whole other can of worms with the EWC stuff, though. There's a lot of political implications, and people are very concerned about them just buying out the whole esports scene, which I think they are. I honestly, I've had so many critiques of the CPT format because I feel like EWC is just going to eat their lunch because they provided they have way more infinite money. So I understand that to compare the Capcom esports budget to EWC is, you're comparing ants to a lion here, but they are providing an avenue for international tournaments to happen. DreamHack Dallas had players from all over the planet there. DreamHack Dallas is not a tournament. You know what I mean? Like if DreamHack Dallas occurred without EWC, it would just be players from Dallas there.
Yeah, it's kind of how like DreamHack Atlanta was. It was just like random TNS.
Yeah, it's just the local players, right? That's just how it is. But because EWC was backing in, there's qualifying spots, 8 qualifying spots there. You had players from all over the planet. Suddenly, it was one of the most stacked tournaments we've had since Street Fighter 6 dropped. And that's been my huge complaint about the CPT format, is that besides Evo, it's like we get nothing. We get nothing in terms of this cross-pollination of top level players.
Yeah.
We had the few CPT premieres they did last season, and they added more this year, which improved it a little bit. But even then, the players aren't traveling.
Yeah. It's like the good old days where like Street Fighter 4 and Street Fighter 5, I feel like every other weekend was a big tournament, and I would just like watch the whole stream, every single like minute of it. And nowadays, I don't think that's really a thing. Maybe Singapore was like that because I felt like that tournament was actually really hype. I'm probably biased about that too. But I feel like my matches were good.
Yeah, I watched the VOD over and over. What do you mean? It was great.
Yeah, so like I feel like nowadays there's only like maybe like 4 or 5 tournaments a year that are like that. Like I guess
right.
DreamHack Dallas. I feel like summer was less like that because the qualified players didn't go anymore. And then like Evo and DWC, and then I guess the super premieres. I feel like that's it. And Capcom
right.
Cup.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned the qualified players going to go to DreamHack Sweden, which was like a week or two. I forget the exact timeline, but very soon after DreamHack Dallas, 8 players qualify for those, so those 8 don't go, and then each subsequent Esports World Cup qualifier had less and less representation from international players as it went on, and then ended in like in CEO, which is where you qualified over IDOM, and then only like Daigo and NL and a handful of international players were going, but it was such a steep drop off as it went on. From both because more players qualified, so they're not traveling, and also there was only 2 spots at that tournament instead of 8, so it's like less incentive.
Yeah.
But that demonstrates directly in a much shorter time frame what the CPT format is doing, because CPT format is auto qualifiers. Punk wins Evo, he's done going to tournaments.
Yeah.
Mena RD wins Cream City, he's done going to tournaments.
Yeah, it's so
and
bad.
So you have both the lack of reward, only one possible spot, so it's not worth the risk to travel to internationally, and you're not going to make money from the tournament. You're going to be losing money, and then on top of that, the players who do travel and qualify, they stop traveling. It's like on both ends, you're losing the best players, and then the other good players say, "Screw it, I'm not going to go anywhere." So I feel like it's been such a terrible format. I don't know if you feel the same.
Yeah, and I feel the same way. Like even EWC, even though like it was amazing, that's the main thing, is it wasn't points, it was auto qualifiers. So I just feel like auto qualifiers are terrible. like why are you making it so that winning the tournament, like those players don't go to the next tournament? There's no storylines anymore.
Yeah, these conversations always involve multiple factors. It's about like regional representation, and also the economics of it all. You know, Capcom pay to win tour, so there's more nuance involved. But I can just say purely, if you're a spectator, it's worse. Like if you're not concerned about the logistics or how it gets done, if you're just spectating it, the Capcom Pro Tour is significantly worse now than it was in 2019 and before. I don't think we realized how good we had it.
Yeah.
In that era. Like, it was insane. Like, I would see you and whoever like every other weekend, plus Itazan was everywhere, Daigo was everywhere, Fudo, whoever. Like, I would see some of these Japanese players and international players more than my own family. You know, like, it was nuts.
Yeah.
The level of travel was unparalleled back then.
Yeah, that was a good time.
My other concern with that is beyond just the lack of entertainment. I mean, I'm concerned that this won't exist for much longer. I don't know if you have those same feelings. I feel like they keep trying to push Street Fighter League instead, and they're finding more and more success in Japan. And Daigo had that video discussing, he repeated some of these points here that we just made about why Japanese players are more incentivized to stay at home. But I feel like Street Fighter League in Japan is so successful, and the game is so much more popular than ever, but the CPT portion of it seems to be doing worse than ever, and the viewership is down. I actually went back because people were trying to make this argument, it's so much more successful. I compared the stats, actually. General average viewership for Capcom fighters is down from 2017. There was the biggest dip during COVID era, but the boom from Street Fighter 6 is still less than it was 2017, 2018, 2019 for Street Fighter 5. So viewership is down.
Yeah.
I'm concerned they're just going to abandon all this and it's going to be Japan only.
Yeah.
Did you like
add the Capcom Fighters JP numbers
No.
too?
So
'Cause I think they had higher numbers on
that's
that channel.
that's the thing that is the data's not perfect. I just had a general view of the Capcom Fighters channel itself. So the JP numbers are huge now.
Yeah.
And also to be fair, there's more restreamers and other ways to watch.
Yeah.
So the overall numbers might be up, but if a huge portion of them are just the Capcom Fighters JP channel, I still feel like that speaks to the point that the esports market for Street Fighter seems to be like 99% Japan focused.
Yeah.
Which makes me concerned about the future of the rest of this. Because Street Fighter League is so much more successful than like any other branch of it.
Yeah. It's I don't know. Like as a player, like I feel like things will still be around. Partly because it's EWC. So even if Capcom Cup just stops existing for some reason, like we'll have that for a few years at least. But yeah, I don't know. Like Street Fighter League Japan is so successful, and the other Street Fighter leagues suck.
Don't say that. Hey, wait a minute, nephew. We're about to get the whole tweet with the text out. Capcom Fighters.
I'm banned now.
You might. I don't know. They reprimanded Dogoro. You saw that, right?
Yeah, I saw that. No, but he said that he didn't want to practice or something. I'm not saying I wouldn't practice.
Oh, you're just saying it sucks. Yeah. So that's less severe. Saying Street Fighter League sucks is less severe than saying it's okay to not practice.
Yeah,
okay, gotcha.
I think so.
That's good.
Yeah, and it's not wrong. I feel like Japan's is just way better, and it's probably like what they envisioned, but something is wrong there for US and EU. And like I think maybe they could fix it with like going back to the old format for CPT. Like I feel like maybe that brings back some popularity. Yeah.
No, they need the regular recurring season for storylines for viewership. But I do like to give concessions to people who have the other viewpoints of the benefits of the current system, because it does give access to players from all over the world. But not the whole world. Like no matter which system you're doing, it's not going to always be egalitarian. Someone is going to get the short end of the stick no matter what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Like currently there's no qualifiers in Africa, right? Like there's still whole continents that don't have representation.
Yeah.
But it's also about like how do you best serve those markets? And I feel like if you just put a tournament there, I'm saying just, which is a big oversimplification. Of course, it's way harder to do. But having a tournament in these regions that are underserved and then making Tokido fly out there would do so much more, I feel like, for the local community than taking one of their players and putting them in Capcom Cup, where they may or may not make it out of groups. And historically, they don't make it out of groups, you know? So I'm hoping for positive change.
Yeah, apparently Phenom just qualified for Capcom Cup and no one cares. So... like he won his
just now,
like today. It just doesn't matter
because he's got to qualify out of his region. He's guaranteed he qualifies every single time, and there's barely any competition. It's just like they have that region just to get Phenom into Capcom Cup again, because he's just that guy. And oh my god, yeah, it's really hard for people to care right now. But the storylines, which is I'm hoping that changes. I'm trying to heavily to do things like this podcast and also like the YouTube recaps, things of that nature, to assist in that, because half the comments are people saying, I had no idea this tournament was happening. I have no idea who these players are. You know, we're losing that insight into what's going on in the scene.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping Capcom does something soon. Something.
Yeah. Anything.
But for but now that you're qualified, you're going to Japan Super Premiere just because you already had that booked.
Yeah.
So vacation.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna try a different character then, or are you still
gonna try my hardest? Like I feel like because I
Okay.
got second, like I might as well try and get the first. You know.
That would be disgusting.
Yeah, that'd be crazy, right?
Are there any other qualified players entering?
I'm sure the
I'm trying to
Japan players
imagine.
would go. Like I'm sure Shuto and Itazan would enter.
Because I would love to see the breakdown of the auto qualifier, because it's top 2 spots again, which is also crazy. The schedule, the fact that we had like no tournaments, there's a huge drought of tournaments post Evo, and then suddenly there was like 3 back to back to back, including 2 super premieres.
Yeah.
Weird scheduling.
Yeah.
But imagine all 3 of you guys get top 3, and then like what do you even do?
Yeah. Then there's a tiebreaker for 5th. They just gotta play.
Oh my god, for Capcom Cup on the line. Yeah, the whole format seems strange. But now that you're qualified beyond that, are you going to any other tournaments? Because there's Kings of the World and there's Blink Respawn. Do you have any further plans for the rest of the season?
I definitely won't go to Blink because that's literally in like 2 weeks, I think. Probably not Kings of the World either. I feel like the competition won't be like that crazy. I feel like, yeah, I just wish there were.
I don't know, man. DR, they got some killers, dude.
No, I'm talking about Kings of the World though. I feel like
Kings of the World.
Yeah.
Okay,
I feel like that's probably just gonna be EU.
That's the LCQ though.
Yeah, kind of, but like, yeah, maybe it'll be crazy. Yeah.
It's hard to say because they got rid of the LCQ, which I also think is a huge shame because LCQ is sick and it's in Japan. Capcom Cup's going to be in Japan, so it would be another like the most stacked tournament. Imagine like you're a top player from another part of the world and you have to go through all the killers in Japan to get in.
Yeah.
So it might be Kings of the World instead. We'll have to see.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I saw Punk say that he's going, so maybe I'll go, but probably not.
The Gatekeep squad is going to show up. The NA Gatekeep squad.
Yeah.
Got to get Mena in there.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the man who quit Google to play Street Fighter. I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here. Do you have anything you want to say to the people before we close out, where they can find you?
I'm Nephew Dork on everything. So YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, or X if you call it that. Yeah. Thanks for having me on. It was fun. What's the podcast called? Is this like a
Trash Talk?
Trash Talk? All right.
Yeah, I feel like I don't do any trash talk. You do it more subtly than me, but I figured it matched the dumpster theme.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah, you see the vision.
Yeah. Is it going to be on your main channel or something different?
Main channel, Spotify.
Okay.
Anything else I can figure out? I don't know what I'm doing, Nephew. I don't know if you noticed that, but I'm just doing it, and we're going to see where it ends up.
Yeah, no, that's a cool concept for sure, though.
Yeah, thank you, and thanks for being on.
Yeah. No problem.
All right. Close it out.